Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Isaac Grainer here. Thanks so much again for tuning in. This is part three of our conversation on racial reconciliation. Hopefully, by now, you've already checked out part one and two, and you've had meaningful conversations with your families and your friends. In this session, we go even deeper. We're talking about cultural influence and immigration. And I do just want to point out one thing. In the intro video, you'll see that it says holistic compassion. And what that means is, as the body of Christ, the church, and Christians in our communities, we have to start coming up with solutions that treat and care for the whole individual, not just one part. Check it out. In terms of racial reconciliation and relationships in general, in what ways has secular culture responded better than the church has, that you've noticed? In what ways has the culture responded better than the church has, that you've noticed?
I'll speak up on that. So for me personally, I'm not a perfect person at all. I definitely, love God and all. I feel like culturally, how we've responded is sometimes, a lot of times, the church is silent. They don't want to have that conversation about racism. They just ignore it, and it's just swept under the rug. And, a lot of times, culturally, I feel like, maybe potentially this newer generation, a lot of us, we weren't taught as far as, the foundations of racism or to be racist and things like that. So as far as that, I feel like we culturally have worked better together as far as like taking the necessary steps. Potentially maybe a protest, peaceful protest. I don't feel like our peaceful protest is wrong, but as far as another way is just having a better understanding to me as far as like a newer generation. As far as comparing to the church is a lot of times, I feel like a lot of times we look to the church for help. And, amongst these issues and tensions, sometimes you're like, where's the church? Where's the church, And, we feel like they could step up more. And it's like, God is the root of everything. And, kind of just look for the church to just, for that direction and help. And, that's just what I think personally.
Yeah, I think generalising, the society has been more outraged by the injustices and the discrimination and racism than the church has. People in society will speak up and will say it's wrong. They may not have an answer, but they will acknowledge it. And I think often the church will, put it down to whatever, but move on from it as quickly as they can because they see it as a distraction from the gospel, when actually it's central to it.
I think the church, if you look at what our responsibility, the church, capital C church, is, there are a lot of areas that the government and society have had to step in because the church has been silent. When you talk about, the church being responsible for widows, orphans, the poor, the elderly, I don't even think the whole Republican-Democrat thing would be such a great divide if the church were stepping in more. You wouldn't need so many government programs if the church was stepping in more. I also think that we need to come out of the mentality that the church, little c, is supposed to do it. We are the church, capital C. And we don't take responsibility as Christians. Even, yes, there is the church building, and yes, racism and should be discussed inside the church buildings, white, black, and all. It's been discussed in the black church, but specifically the white church. It needs to be a discussion, yes, but also the responsibility lies on us as Christians to carry out the work of the church. That lies with us. In my school, I just had a conversation because if they know I'm gonna pray. I'm going to. Not during school hours, but I'm going to pray. So we have a lot of challenges. My population at my school is a challenging one, and we have a lot of kids who've been through a lot, and they have a lot of special needs, and we just have a lot going on. So y'all pray for Teasley Middle School. So we have a lot going on, but it's a great staff full of supportive people, loving people. But one of the things I said was, spirits are territorial. And it's great, we've had churches come to Teasley and walk and pray. But if the church that is at Teasley does not pray over Teasley, that's our responsibility. That's our territory. And I think it's the same with our neighborhoods. It's the same with, I just think that we need to take responsibility more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think you hit on one thing that I would really agree with, is that it's not really the church that's done a bad job, because the black church talks about it. It's obviously something that's really common. It's the white church that hasn't dealt with it. I don't think most of it is not out of hatred. Most of it is not out of anything like that. It's literally ignorance, uncomfortability. It's just an uncomfortable topic, and we don't have an answer for it. And I think as the church, a lot of times, we like to have an answer for whatever we're talking about, right? Jesus is the answer. And if you have we're talking about recovery, we can get people into recovery, and we want to give them an answer. Here's steps to take towards recovery. If your marriage is in trouble, come in. We want to help you with your marriage, and you can take these steps, and it will help to make your marriage better. But we don't know what to do about racism. As a pastor, we don't know how to say, here's the easy steps, right? Because there are no easy steps to help with racism. And so not having the answer, it's a hard thing to bring up. And then also there is division, right? There are, in a white church, there's going to be racist people. So if you're talking about it, and we're saying that it's an issue, the people in there that are still holding on to that, they're trying to hold on to Jesus and racism somehow, which doesn't seem to work, right? They're going to push back really hard, right? And then the church is depending on those people for the tithes and the offerings to keep the church going. They could be the people that are leading in ministry. So it's taking that step and being able to say, I don't have all the answers. I know it's going to make some people mad, but I've got to stand up for this issue. That's a really hard thing for the white church to do, and I don't think everyone's figured out quite how to do it. So instead of taking steps, we just stay quiet.
And I think in terms of society, like Chad said, the culture uniting, like the protests and the whatever the case may be, like the culture responding and being active in different ways, right? Until the church is collectively united. And it doesn't mean that the church agrees with everything, right? Everybody in the church agrees with everything, or everybody dresses the same. It doesn't mean that. It just simply means that collectively, right, you start to, the norm is you have more churches that are not just kind of racially diverse, but like it's in their DNA. Like it's so normal that I don't even think that I have white leaders and black pastors and this, that, and the third. Like, it's so normal. Until that actually happens, society is not going to be united because we're not showing them anything different. And that's what always comes to my mind. It's like the church has to show society something different. We can't show them the pictures that they've already seen. We can't show them the pictures they've already experienced, because what's the point? If you're showing me what I already have, why do I need what you're trying to get me to jump into? Right? But if you show me something different, you say, wait a minute, they're united. Wait a minute, they treat each other. They talk different. They treat each other with respect and kindness and love and mercy. Like, I want to be a part of that. Then the society will jump in. Then they'll start to mimic it. But until the church is racially and spiritually united, man, we got an uphill battle, and it's a long time. We'll have a long time at this. Because of the time constraints, we're going to jump around a little bit and kind of make it a little bit fast. Social media is good in a lot of ways, but its negative effects on society seems to get worse each year. Has social media made us more opinionated and angrier over things we otherwise, if not for social media and / our phones, we wouldn't even think twice about? Is more accessibility to the world making humans worse or better?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. And I don't go on social media that much because there's just so much negativity. People feel they can say whatever because they're not saying it to anyone, they're just putting it out there. And I think, as a result, there is obviously a lot more, we talk about fake news now, but just a lot more hatred can be spewed because people think, well, I'm not saying it to anyone in particular.
I'd like to piggyback off of that and say social media, it has its positive sides of things. I love that I can get on there and see distant family and friends, and I'm connected that way with them. But the negative side of it, and this is something I have my kids that I've talked about a few times today, one of the things that I've always taught them is if you're not willing to say that to that person face to face, do not put it on social media, do not text it, do not email it, do not any of those things, because I think all of those forms of communication, it's so easy to say something negative to somebody when you're not face to face with them, you know, and I think it's made it a lot worse. I know when I was growing up, if you were frustrated or upset with somebody, you had to go confront them face to face, and a lot of times you would not say some of the things that, you know, initially came to your mind about them that you were frustrated over or whatever, because it wasn't kind and it wasn't okay to say those things, and out of respect for the other person, you would not say that face to face. It's so easy to pick up the phone and just text it and message it because there's not a face right there before you. It's just words on a page. And so I think that social media has made it a lot worse. I think through opinions and through things that, you know, people, like I say, would not normally say to somebody face to face.
And I also think that for the new generation, you know, I have a teenager, and she gets, you know, in her feed, obviously it's handpicked to the ideas that she has, and it reinforces it. So she has, I see that, I tell her, listen, the world that you're looking at right now, that what you think is the world is only a piece of it. It's not reality. It's not the whole picture. Because social media puts in your feed or in your whatever you call it, depending on the app, right? It's more of the same. So if you're focusing on racism, right? Like right now she is like, hey, racism, you know, so a lot, yeah, you're feeding and you're, it's the bad energy, you're feeding it and feeding it. That's not creating a solution. You're just, you know, I think it's increasing the problem, and it happens in the TV, you know, like what you were saying before, like black on black crime. Yeah, but you know, like they select the news that are gonna touch people's buttons, right, to get a reaction. But that doesn't mean that it's 100% of the reality. There's no way that we can be aware of everything that happens everywhere. So I think that it's social media. I see it. I try to limit my social media. I wish I find a way to limit my daughters also, but it creates division. It creates a lot of division. It has beautiful things also, you know, like I use it for advertisement and to communicate my message and education and all that, but definitely it's dangerous in that way, and the younger generation, they're not out with people so much, they're in the phone, and this is their world, and they're growing believing that is the reality, and it's sad because it's not. You know, they don't get to see the good side of people. And then she said, well, yeah, but you know, like inside, that's how they really are because they're posting these things. So right now you're seeing the real people. And you know, in a way, like I don't believe that, because you're there because you don't have nothing else to do. You know, like you're sitting there. But if you were in the real world, you wouldn't be worrying about those things. You know, you'll be doing other things, you know, community, you know, interacting with people. So I think that when we look at news, we cannot be so quick to judge. You know, we have to always stop and look at the big picture of everything that happens.
Well, and if I may piggyback on that, just with the news, I agree. And I think my kids and I we were just having this conversation the other day about the news today. When I was growing up, the news was factual. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. That was it. There were never any opinions put behind it. And I think today that some of our problem too with the media is that when a newscaster presents the news, they also add their own personal opinions to it, which is also helping create some divide in what's going on in our country, because it wasn't that way. Years ago, you weren't allowed to give your opinion as a newscaster. You were allowed to just state the facts. This is what happened in this city at this time, and ... It was never any opinions that were given. And so I do feel like, again, that freedom of speech, there's just way too much of that going on too, and they're pitting people against each other based on their own personal opinions about what that news story held or what happened in that news story.
Yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so in terms of social media, right, and we talk about the images and the messages that we receive, right, as Adriana was saying, like, when you are looking, it's okay to be aware of something, right? You're aware of things that are going on, right? But when you're constantly, like everything that you follow on social media, if that's the only message that you're seeing, you're constantly feeding your anger, right? Because you're like, man, I can't stand it. I'm so mad that this is happening. I'm so frustrated, right? And so day after day, you're just constantly seeing images over and over again, and it's not changing anything. It's just making you more angrier, right? And so I think, like in terms of the Bible, right? Obviously they didn't have technology back then, right? I don't know if we were meant to be disconnected. I don't know. I don't truly believe that God, created us to be this connected as we are, right? Not to say that we shouldn't, again, like not to say that you shouldn't be aware of things that are going on, but I don't know if he meant it for us to be like, I can call somebody in China, or I can have an opinion on something that's going on in a community in South Africa or whatever. Like, I don't know if that was if that's his desire. In my opinion, I don't think it is. I think it's okay to have technology and be connected to different people, right? But to a certain extent, it hurts us. Long-term wise, it's affecting us in detrimental ways, and also too, it's our responsibility to put the phone down. And not to keep on going on about this, but I don't know if you guys watched the documentary Social Dilemma. And then that's on Netflix. Basically, like the whole premise of it was that how our technology and our phones is having a huge effect, a negative effect on us. But also too, they were talking about how like it's on us as parents and as individuals to say, you know what, no more. If I know this is detrimental to me, then stop doing it. If I know that this social media that I'm tuning into is just making me more and more angry, I'm addicted to it, I need to do something about it. So you know what? I'm going to limit myself to this. I'm going to delete this. If I can't handle this, if it's not feeding me in a good way or serving the purpose that I want to, then I'm not going to allow it to continue to use me. And I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you hit the nail on the head when you said addiction, because a lot of people are addicted to it. They can't put it down, and it feeds a certain part of them, whether it makes them feel more secure because they can put out only the perfect pictures and they can touch them up and now I'm beautiful, even though maybe in person I might be a hot mess, but you don't know that. And I think that people, it is like a drug addiction or a food addiction. I mean, people can't put it down in a lot of instances, even though they know it's bad for them. I know that too much sugar is bad for me, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's good. It tastes good, just like social media for some people.
But I got this next question is for you. So we're gonna move, try to move as quick as we can. This next question is talking about illegal immigration, and we'll try to limit this to Hernan and maybe one other person. It says this: illegal immigration is a tough situation. What has been the hardest part as a Christian witnessing all unfold? And then long term, if illegal immigration is going to just be a part of life, how can we as Christians, right, love our neighbors while they're here, right? Whether, like I said, if they're illegal immigrants, how can we as Christians love them while they're here? What can we do as Christians to impact them while they're here in this country illegally? And what's been the hardest part as a Christian witnessing how this country handles immigrants coming into this country?
Yeah, that's definitely, I probably going to speak more for the people I know, because I come to this country, I fly here, I get checked in immigration, they check my background, I come over here with education. So, but the majority, the immigrants, is kind of discriminated, is those ones they cross the border. Those ones, they either don't have money or they don't have education, but they die. They don't have what to eat in the country, or they need to help other family members. So it's hard. And I think one of the things we can do for them is basically what we be talking, what we would do with racism, what we would do with police officer, is have a relationship with them. When we have a relationship with other people, they look different to us, we start learning about them, we start figuring out the need they have, but more importantly, they be integrating to our life. So I think that will make a lot of difference, and that will be help a lot the immigration people already here. And somebody asked me a couple years ago when we started working with the immigration here in Cherokee County, and he said, "Are they legal? How we helping them? They're not legal." And I told her, I said, God will be help them. That's not my problem. They're legal, illegal. They're already here. Let's do something so they can help our country or our county. So they're already here. Let's figure out how they can do better, how we integrating them. So what education they need. You know, there's so much need there, and I believe the same in the African American counties. You know, there's so much need there. And as a white people, well, I'm not a white, I'm kind of brown, but the white people should be go there. Hey, how we can get this county better? So these people can see something better they never see before. So I think that I go with what I always say is, you know, you cannot meet the need and you don't meet them. So it's be there.
I can give a comment here. I think that when we talk about immigration, we have to go back to the root. And I'm going to recommend a movie, actually a series. It's called The Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale, right? So let me quickly tell you the story. It starts in this awful society, right? That you think like, you know, this is fiction because everybody, you know, like they do horrible things to people, and it's a very strict society and weird, bad things happening that you would never in your life think that it's possible. And then later, I realized that, oh gosh, that's the United States. It happened. Right? Something unimaginable, a government that came to kill with some crazy ideas, changed and killed a lot of people, well, awful things. And then these, you know, whomever was able to escape, they escaped, right, to Canada. So Americans were asking for asylum in other countries because America got to be so screwed up that you're gonna die, pretty much. And when I saw that, I was like, oh gosh, you know, I'm not an immigrant, but I never thought about the possibility of this country not being good, of this country being bad or having to run from here. And that moment, I got a new perspective, and I said, yes, you know, like, that is exactly what people need to understand, why we come here. You come here for your life. You know, like in my experience, I always, you know, I always liked this culture and I always wanted to do it. Nothing bad happened to me before. But the majority of the people who come here, especially those who Hernan was talking about, they come because they're gonna die. They don't have any other option. So when you're in such a risk, it doesn't matter if you're tall, short, white, blue, green, like whatever color is your life. And that's why the majority of immigrants, or at least Hispanic immigrants, come here because the things in their country, I can tell you, in my country, things that are happening, it's like that, like in that series. It's like, what? You know, like unimaginable, right? And people have to flee for their lives. So I think that should give us a new perspective and understand that it's not immigration in the process and you come here, no, it's like why? We need, you know, put the heart into it and why you're doing it. And understand that every person that comes here who left their family, their friends, everything that they knew, and they come here to, in a way, to a lower status in the society, right? To start from scratch. You know, you could have been a professional there, you come down, so you took many steps down. You come here and you have an eagerness and a willing to survive that not everybody has. So I think that we have to start looking at immigration in a positive light, not in a negative light, because it's, you know, you're never gonna find people so motivated and so eager to to be fruitful and take advantage of this, this beautiful land, because for whatever reason it wasn't possible before. So I think that if we see that, then we can, from a heart, think of laws and ways, and again, integrate and accept, and not see it as a pest. Someone who's coming here to, eat our food,
to take
but
the job.
to help, and like, it's just give it the tools, and we're all gonna prosper together.
What's and just really, really quick, Tom, what is a false narrative about illegal or immigrants in general that you would say is, that you want to speak like to? In your opinion, what's one of the false narratives that are played out in our country about immigrants coming to this country, like Hernan just said, of, oh, they just want to, steal from us or whatever? Like, what's one of the false things that you've realized as an immigrant yourself about, immigrants coming to this country?
I think, one of the biggest ones is just that they just come in here because they want to take our money. They want to take my job. I'm an immigrant as well, but the thought is that they just want to come here and they're going to take a job that I want, or that I could get. And just to kind of bring it around a little bit, I mean, it links also a similar sort of theme to white privilege. I was having a conversation with someone older, and he said, well, it has never been harder as a white male to get a job or to be heard. And our response was, well, that's good. It's been so easy as a white male to get a job and to be heard. And if it's getting harder, that means things are moving in the right direction.
I think, like Adriana said, like the assumption is they're just coming here to take and to just be lazy. But the reality is a lot of immigrants are coming because, man, my country is messed up, and I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to provide for my family. Like, I have kids, and I feel like anybody who can, and just imagine that you're in an environment that you have nothing, right? You would do anything for your children. You would do anything. You would go to any country, any place, do whatever you had to do to provide for your family. And so I feel like the idea that illegal immigration, like to have this mindset that illegal immigrants, or immigrants in general, is a bad thing, it's completely stupid, because the reality is, and again, a lot of people don't want to be honest and want to hear this, the reality is this country was not white-owned initially. Right? We know that the natives were here first. We know that Hispanics in certain places were here first. So this idea that this has always been our country is not true whatsoever. And so it's just, hopefully it reminds us to have compassion on people who are coming to this country for a better life and to provide for their family.